members. My name is Arthur DiBianca. I'm representing myself and the Libertarian Party of Travis County, and I'm speaking against the bill. I should say that I did not have information about the committee substitute, so I'm not clear right now on exactly what applies to what, so I'm going to give my testimony based on the original version of the bill. The Libertarian Party has been on the Texas ballot since 1986, and we have always made our nominations by convention. And just to be clear, we do want to keep making our nominations by convention. We do not want to be required to use primary elections. In some other states, the Libertarian Party is required to nominate by primary election, but in those states, the primary process is very different. The state government administers everything, and the political parties have minimal duties. In some cases, the candidates even file directly with the state government. Now, in Texas, the political parties themselves are responsible for administering and even financing the primary elections. It's an enormous administrative undertaking, and it requires a lot of resources, to say the least, and many, many experienced personnel throughout the state. The Libertarian Party is simply not in a position to manage a primary election. We cannot do it. We are a much smaller organization, and we have far, far fewer personnel than the Republican and Democratic parties, and none of our personnel have any experience managing a primary. In addition to placing this burden on the smaller political parties, this bill would increase the burden on Texas taxpayers, and it would also lead to new logistical problems. For example, I understand that there are polling locations that do not have the physical space for 3 or more groups of primary election workers. So respectfully, we ask you not to support the bill, and thank you for your attention.
And thank you for your testimony. Welcome. Introduce yourself and give us your testimony.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Chairman Hughes and members. My name is Linda Curtis. I'm speaking on behalf of the League of Independent Voters of Texas. I am on the bill, and the League of Independent Voters is a 501c4 membership association for non-aligned voters here in Texas. The self-identified independents are approximately 3.8 million voters. Frankly, we don't really understand your legislation, respectfully, Senator Middleton, though we do have sympathy for trying to treat all political parties equally. It's not a bad idea. The fiscal note that was posted, I guess it was last night, states that the author cannot say how much it will cost because it can, quote, you cannot determine due to uncertainty over the number of political parties that would be required to hold primary elections, unquote. And I really have a hard time believing that the legislature is going to want to shell out $40 to $50 million to pay for the Libertarian Party, the Green Party, the No Labels Party, the Forward Party, the Constitution Party, and the Texas Independent Party, and Lord knows who else would want to hold primaries if we were going to pay for them. So don't get me wrong, we love electoral competition, that's why we exist. But chaos is not what we're looking for here. I must ask the author if you have actually met with the people affected by this legislation. I think they would help you try to get where you're going, perhaps. The reason we have a different process for minor parties and new parties is to give them some footing to prove themselves, to prove their viability. It takes time to do that. This is very complicated stuff. If you rush it, you're going to botch it, and it's going to backfire on you, and you will not get what you want. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your testimony. Welcome. Introduce yourself with your testimony.
Thank you, Senator Hughes, Chairman Hughes, excuse me, and the rest of you senators. I appreciate y'all being here and listening to our testimony all day long. I'm going to speak directly to the fiscal note on this. If the 6 parties that she just listed were to participate in the primary, you're looking at adding a $54 million tab to the taxpayers. And I don't think that's fair that you're burdening taxpayers with private political organizations' operations. And I rest the rest of my time.
Thank you for your testimony. Introduce yourself and go ahead with your testimony.
Thank you for your time today. My name is Elizabeth Miller. I am testifying on my own behalf. I happen to be a lawyer, and I happen to be somebody who's volunteered with ballot board and signature verification committees. I also happen to be a member of a minor party, the Libertarian Party of Texas. In that process, I've learned, I'm not an expert on the Texas election code. I don't know who is. It's pretty complicated. But I have had some benefit of that experience. And then I have some people I can call on that I did call on to ask them, what would this look like, right? I talked to Democrats, Republicans, Libertarians, and then apolitical people at the county who administer our elections. And I guess if I could summarize their response, it would probably be this: how's that going to work? And I think I share their concern. I think there's transpartisan concern about making this work. As you guys know, but some Texans may not, administering elections is very complicated and expensive. And even with their sheer size and strength and money, Democrats and Republicans struggle to pull it off, to staff, to find locations. And I think this, well-intentioned, could create a lot of chaos in trying to pull it off. In Tarrant County, we're great. We have great talent, but it's still hard to pull off, and we would need to spread that equipment out. We would need to spread all the manpower out. And I think this would, we heard today from somebody on the countywide voting that we didn't quite think it all the way through last time. And I fear that this idea isn't quite ripe. Its time has not quite come from talking to people who administer these things, that this hasn't been thought through. It could be a real problem.
Thank you for your testimony.